this is the Fall of Cadia Explained, quick Warhammer lore by KrakDuk, because I keep wondering how the whole Cadia thing happens. I want to understand. Alright, let's watch it together. Oh god, that was loud.
Hi friends, today we're going to talk about one of the biggest defeats the Imperium has ever faced and one of its most tragic losses. Today we're going to be talking about the Fall of Cadia. The Fall of Cadia was a...
Sorry, are there like subtitles maybe? Oh, auto-generated, so no... Oh, okay, never mind. I'm fine without subtitles too.
critical attack on one of the most important Imperial worlds and has had huge impacts on the greater universe.
Why is that planet running?
What led to this defeat? Why is it so important? Who is Cadia and why are they so clumsy? We'll answer all those questions and more in today's video. Let's get started. So for context, Cadia is, was one of the most important fortress worlds in the whole Imperium. It was extremely important due to its proximity to the Eye of Terror. Cadia was on the only passable route in or out of the Eye of Terror. Because of this, Cadia became a crucial line of defense.
What is the Eye of Terror? Is that like some kind of warp portal thingamajig? Is it actually shaped like an eye?
In an area known as the Cadian Gate. This gate kept the forces of chaos at bay and prevented a catastrophic invasion.
Explains it. I'm sorry.
Another significant feature of Cadia were the Cadian pylons. These pylons were large black stone obelisks that were made by the Necrons to weaken psychic energies during the War of Heaven. Luckily for the Cadians, the Necrons were kind of litter bugs and they just left their anti-magic pylons all over the place. And the pylons' anti-magic properties conveniently held the Eye of Terror warp energies back and kept the area manageable. Due to the strategic importance of Cadia, it has long been a target of attack from the forces of chaos. And at first, the Cadians were ill-equipped to handle the constant assaults, so they had to reform their world and culture. Cadians reformed their society and culture in order to better prepare to deal with the constant barrage of chaos forces knocking on their door asking if they'd like to hear a word about their Lord and Savior, Four-Way Satan. One such reform is that their society became heavily militarized, even by 40K standards. About 72% of their population is under arms, which is almost as much as Texas. The Cadian children are taught to strip, assemble, and shoot firearms before learning to read.
That's just efficient.
Like Texas. Even the civilian aspects of Cadia are militarized. All the houses are heavily armored. Everyone is trained to fight. Social classes are dependent on military rank. The normal civilian clothes are even camouflage and military-esque, which, again, is much like Texas. But this prevalent military culture is very important because it helps make Cadians some of the best warriors in the galaxy. And in addition to societal reforms, Cadians have also reformed the way they built their cities. In the center of each city, there's a mighty fortress called a Khazar. And yes, this is where the Khazar can come from.
Yes! Khazar can #1!
And each Khazar was extremely well defended and designed to hold out against invaders for a very long time. Generally...
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about this and all I can think of is Rimworld. This whole planet is just Rimworld, kind of. You know, all the colonists you have? All armored up. The base, probably a fortress. Everyone has weapons. Everyone shoots. I mean, most people shoot. We love space taxes. This is basically space taxes. Oh. It's a giant warp rift Slanesh made. Oh, Slanesh made that. Oh. Pretty much a Rimworld. It is a Rimworld. That's really funny. Well, what if someone remade this in Rimworld? Kinda.
The Khazar had a void shield, and then a perimeter with many gun emplacements, and then a moat, and then a hefty wall and fortified gate, and then past that, you're finally in the city streets of the Khazar. But wait right there, would-be invaders. The defenses aren't done yet. Once you finally make it inside the Khazars, there's even more defensive measures. On top of the usual stuff like gun emplacements and planetary defense troops, the Khazar streets are intentionally designed to be confusing to invaders. The city layout is made in complex geometric patterns, which, means the Cadians basically live in the little puzzles you get at the Applebee's kids menus. But the puzzling layout isn't just because the city planners were too busy killing demons and being the best regiment around. It was actually intentionally done to give Cadians an extra advantage in defenses. The Cadians excel in urban combat, so the confusing layout and heavily defended buildings help them hold out Khazars for far longer than a normal city. And these staunch defenses, they might seem like overkill, and If you think that, number one, you clearly aren't familiar with Warhammer because Overkill is its middle name. And two, you clearly weren't paying attention earlier because you must have forgotten that Cadians live on the border of literal actual hell.
Yeah.
And these insane defenses to military culture, along with the Cadian pylons, were extremely important because it allowed the Cadians to reject Abaddon's advances for the 12 days of Christmas. I mean, 12 Black Crusades. And on the 12th day of God Emperormus, my true foe sent to me 12 Black Crusades, 11 Black Crusades, 10 Black Crusades. Yeah, that's right. The War Master of Chaos, commander of the forces of evil and all things nasty. It took him 13 tries to take over one planet.
Oh, but he did it in the end.
Yes, first try!
And I know that in lore, each crusade weakened the Imperial forces and technically accomplished one step of Abby's grand plan. But still, the alpha male influencers on YouTube would tell me that there's only like 5 steps to becoming a successful millionaire overnight. So surely the Master of Chaos can condense it just a little bit. But now, let's talk about the 13th Black Crusade and finally get into the fall of Cadia. After 12 Crusades, Abaddon finally took off his sweatshirt and declared, "This is no longer a circus, this is for serious." And the 13th Black Crusade kicked off when a bunch of space hulks started showing up across the Cadian sector, along with a bunch of Chaos battleships. And leading this vanguard assault was Typhus of the Death Guard. Typhus's plague fleet was causing terror across the sector, and this caused radical cults to form. These cults declared that the Chaos attacks were actually the Emperor punishing them for their sins, and the newfound cults were creating unrest, which led to many rebels against the Imperium. And this political unrest also allowed a preacher to rise in prominence as he proclaimed himself the voice of the Emperor, which further turned once loyal Imperials traitor. Across the sector, there were Chaos forces attacking Imperial worlds, and along with the rebellions, things were looking dire for the Imperial forces. However, despite all this, the planet Cadia remained steadfast against the assaults, and the pylons and Cadian shock troopers were going Insano style, holding back the forces of the warp. However, due to worsening conditions, the Cadian High Command ordered all Cadian regiments to reconvene on their home world. One of the returning regiments was the Volscani Cataphracts. The Cataphracts were revered across the sector as they were made up of many hardened veterans and had many accolades. In order to show their gratitude for the Cataphracts' return, Cadian leadership prepared a welcome party so they could meet them in person. However, the Cataphracts did a little bit of trolling on arrival, and they switched teams, spawn killing the majority of Cadian High Command before the real battle could even begin. All would have been lost if not for the absolute Chad that is Lord Castell and Ursarkar.
Okay, so basically they were fighting a war on multiple fronts from the outside by chaos, and then on the inside with societal problems and rebellions and all that stuff. I'm not surprised it was falling apart by then. And yep. They also have the day of the Emperor's Ascension holiday, guys. Ooh, they got a holiday. Oopsie, traitors. Haha, tee hoo hoo. Oh, how could this happen?
Creed commanded a masterful counterattack that pushed back the traitors and allowed the loyalists to regroup their defenses.
Oh, that's Creed, the Trazen museum dude. Oh, and then okay, then Trazen comes to Cadia and yoinks him, I guess, here. So before he and everyone else gets exploded, Trazen yoinks him.
And due to these heroics, Creed would be promoted to governor of Cadia, and he would prove massively important in the upcoming war. Creed prepared the defenses, called for Space Marine reinforcements, and sent Khazarkan teams directly into the Eye of Terror in hopes of getting some intel on the upcoming assaults. On the other side of the war, Abaddon and the Chaos Heralds were making big strides. Typhus and Lucius were wreaking havoc, and the Night Lords were doing raids across the sector. Abaddon himself managed to capture 2 Blackstone fortresses. Now, this is really important because Blackstone fortresses were massive Eldar warships made in ancient times as a failsafe against the Catan reawakening. As such, these planets were near planet-sized megaweapons that, when fully activated, could break the barrier between the warp and real space by shooting a beam that would make the Death Star look like a Nerf gun. So, Abaddon having 2 under his control would prove to be a major issue. And so finally, after all the pre-gaming, Abaddon finally launched his attack on Cadia proper. He opened with a humongoid orbital bombardment and sent, in technical terms, a buttload of Chaos Space Marines, Demons, and Titans to assault the planet. Aided by the Space Wolves, though, the Cadians fought hard against the Legions. Cadians held the Force of Chaos in a deadly stalemate, which, again, goes to show just how badass the Guard Boys really are. And in orbit, the Imperial Navy was also getting some dubs, as they managed to drive Abaddon's forces back into the Cadian. This naval victory broke the Chaos blockade and opened the way for reinforcements, including the entirety of the legendary battle fleet Gothic. However, the Imperials reallocating their defenses to Cadia allowed Chaos forces to attack other Imperial worlds. On these worlds, everyone's favorite little guy, Erebus, summoned warp storms and demons, as if the forces of hell...
This is the This is the dude from Horus Heresy, no? At least I remember his name popping up multiple times. Was he the one that was like whispering in Horus's ears? Or was that just the Chaos Gods? I forgot. The Lion wouldn't need a holiday. I think everyone needs a holiday, even him. Yes, okay. Oh, what is that on its head, anyways? Are those like glyphs? And he has like some text on his staff too. Crazy. Kind of reminds me of like the how the Inquisitors have like they have like paper hanging off their outfits too, scriptures, right? That's the one that was whispering in everyone's ear to make them chaos worshippers back in heresy. Ugh. Oh, it's him. It's the potato himself. But he's like, was he a space marine too? Because he does look like he's wearing some kind of space marine suit. Prayers and spells will not. Those are tattoos of Chaos Holy text, I think. Oh, crazy. Damn. All right.
Weren't enough, things were made worse by the encroaching Tyranid and Orc forces joining in on the fray, along with rumors of a demon Primarch showing up. However, despite the overwhelming odds, Creed led a counter-assault along with the White Scars, and eventually more Space Marine chapters arrived, including the Blood Angels, the Dark Angels, Black Templars, and Imperial Fists. Since there were so many best-selling chapters and named Space Marines, it looked as though Abaddon's crusade would fail yet again. After many victories, the Imperial forces thought the worst was behind them, and they even made plans for victory parties. However, everyone knows it's unwise to emote before you secure the Vicroy, and unfortunately for Cadia, the worst was yet to come. Up in the skies, the space chat from earlier, Admiral Quarren, detected a large Chaos Armada led by the Blackstone Fortress, the Will of Eternity, that was commanded by Abaddon himself. The Imperial fleet was quickly destroyed, and the Chaos forces encroached on Cadia. Knowing something was awry, Kree tried to unify the Imperial forces into a more coherent army that could better repel the heretics. However, he was ultimately unsuccessful as the other Imperials all had their own agendas and remained somewhat disjointed. Not being able to pull from the anime power of friendship would prove to be a huge detriment to the Imperials in the upcoming battles. But it wasn't all doom and gloom, as there were still Imperial victories, and even more named characters showed up to help out. Belisarius' call, with the aid of the Harlequins, activated even more pylons, while Saint Celestine manifested on the raised battlefields and wrecked shit. Even the Necrons joined in, as Trajan the Infinite was impressed by the huge steel balls of the Cadian, since they reminded him of his own steel balls, when they weren't literal steel balls. So the Necrons, they secretly used death marks to aid the Cadians. While things were looking a bit up, Creed commanded a Space Marine force to assault the Will of Eternity directly, and the Marines were able to penetrate the fortress. However, they were unable to kill Abaddon. Planetside, the Chaos forces made their way to the critical Khazar Craft. These Chaos forces were making advances, but they were mostly held back by the Khazarkin, who were killing Space Marines at an impressive rate considering they're just regular humans. After much bloodshed, the Chaos Commander, Urk Rathos, ascended to Demonhood and made it to the Null Array that was holding back further demonic incursion. However, St. Celestine emerged to engage the Demon Prince in an epic duel and banished him. But before banishment, Earth Rakos was able to destroy the Null Array, which allowed Abaddon to finally shoot his Blackstone Fortress Kamehameha. Luckily for the Imperials, though, before Abaddon could activate his Rage Art, it was revealed that a large Space Wolf force remained hidden on the Blackstone Fortress, and they launched a massive counterattack within the ship itself. Then, to make things worse on Abby's big day, the Legion of the Damned Marines manifested, and they helped the Space Wolves destroy his Chaos forces. All would have been lost for the Chaos forces if not for Abaddon arriving in his massive plot armor and pushing back the Wolves and the Damned. However, once again, Abaddon's parade was rained on when he realized, it's a trap! And the Imperial Fist Fortress Monastery, the Phalanx, showed up to blow its load all over the Will of Eternity, disabling Abaddon's trump card. Abaddon teleported away like a little nerd, and the Imperials were once again able to regroup and prepare to counterattack. In their desperations, the Imperials officially allied with Trajan the Infinite, so Call and his new skeleton buddy planned to amplify the pylons in order to push back the chaotic forces. Unfortunately for them, while they were strategizing, Abaddon found their location, and he personally came planetside with his besties to put an end to the Imperials. Breaking through the defenses, he approached Creed and Jaren Kell. Kell sacrificed himself to allow Creed to escape. And Kell's death was actually pretty badass, as he was shit-talking Abaddon until the very end, saying how he's a poo-poo loser guy who needs to use god weapons to kill mere humans and this and that. I will kill all of your friends. I will destroy your planet. Cadia will fall. You are a disgraced guardsman. How can you hope to stop me and my armies? After killing the color sergeant, Abaddon made his way to Colin Trazyn. But before he could fight the science nerds, Krieg came back for revenge with a bunch of Australians. And at the same time, Trazyn opened his Tesseracts to summon an army of his Pokemon. Trazyn's army was led by a Heresiera named Ultramarine, so you know he was bringing the big guns.
Ooh.
After getting his shit kicked in by the Australians, Kazarkin, Custodes, Space Marines, and Trazyn's living Funko Pops, Abaddon teleported.
Wait, Custodes? Oh, Trazyn's Custodes. I was like, don't they always stay like near the Emperor at home? You know, in Terra? But this is the one that he stole, right? That's crazy. When does he steal Creep though? Erebus stole a choir boy's face, took his tattoos to pose as him to live the life he wanted? What the hell? Be a corrupted priest because he'd want work and become a space marine. Oh. Hi. The Legion of the Damned are strange ghost marines that manifest in critical moments directly out of the warp. Ooh, okay, some special helpers then. You'll see. All right.
It away yet again after Celestine landed a decisive blow, and the Cadian pylons were about to be reactivated. Ugh, they keep on stopping me! How can I kill this stupid planet? Sir, excuse me. I have looked into the archives and I found a tactic that some villains pulled in the ancient time of September 11th. Yeah, so Abaddon basically used his Blackstone Fortress to pull a 9/11 on Cadia. He used his flagship to push the Blackstone Fortress into the planet, and the impact caused massive destruction, and the Imperial forces were forced to evacuate. The impact also destroyed many of the pylons, so the warp was able to fully envelop the doomed planet. Creed valiantly held the line with his personal regiment so that as many Cadians as possible could escape. Celestine was super powered from all the warp energy and was wrecking shit per usual. And even the Eldar stepped in using the webway and helped some Imperials, including Call and Inquisitor Greyfax, escape the forces of the Black Legion. But in the end, Abaddon was finally successful, and Cadia had tragically fallen. Now that Cadia was lost, the Eye of Terror was able to widen, and it tore the galaxy asunder with the Great Rift. This divided the galaxy into the Imperium, and the more shitty Imperium, the Imperium Nihilus. The 13th Black Crusade launched the Imperium into an age of darkness. But all was not lost for the Imperium. Shortly after the fall of Cadia, Call, Greyfax, Celestine, and Yvraine were able to resurrect Primarch Rubuti Guilliman. Guilliman authorized Primaris and led the Indominus Crusades to reclaim a lot of lost territory, especially in the Imperium Nihilus. As for the Cadians, around 3 million escaped off-planet, and Creed was taken by Trazyn as a party favor. The 3 million Cadians, along with the Cadians who couldn't make it to their home world, began to repopulate on new worlds, and the Cadian culture remained strong. Additionally, since the Cadians were such a respected and efficient regiment, many other guard regiments had already adopted much of their culture and tactics for themselves. Guardsmen across the galaxy use Cadian equipment and doctrines, so while their home may be lost, the culture would never truly die.
They still live
in that way, it's true that the planet broke before the Guard did, and Cadia truly stands. And with that, that's the Fall of Cadia. Thank you everyone who watched this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. The Fall of Cadia was one of the most crucial and epic moments in 40K. I really enjoyed researching and making this video. And I'd also like to thank anyone who's recently subscribed. I didn't think we would hit 100 so quickly, let alone 300, so I can't express my gratitude enough, and I really hope this channel continues to grow, because I really love making these silly little videos. And, as always, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and consider sharing it. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was kind of sweet at the end. So, Cadia survived, basically. You know, the planet exploded. But the culture, the armor and all that stuff, the people are still alive. So they still stand indeed. I see. Now I see why you guys always say Cadia stands. That the scar that separated the galaxy? Yeah, the one in the middle, the big purple thingamajig. I think I had a map open with it. Let me check. Is this the one? Oh, here. Yeah, here. Ta-da! The purple scar. The planet broke before the Guard. Thank you for watching the video. if you had a good time, maybe consider giving a little like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions for videos that I can watch in the future, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I will have a look at them at a later time. For now though, I'll have to say goodbye, so bye bye, bye bye bye, say bye back, bye bye, bye bye.